Welcome to the Dynasty 365 show. I am your host, Joanna Gaines. Wait a second, that's not right. I'm Stacey Perez, guys, but tonight we are going to be playing a little Dynasty Fixer-Upper, helping you guys rebuild some of those teams out there. Tonight I have got with us the chip to my JoJo. Over here, we got Tyler Heil up here in the corner. Guys, also here tonight to give our teams a little TLC would be my favorite property brothers. We have got the Dynasty Deviant himself, Chris Burns, down there in his hard hat, ready to go with his drill. And then joining us for his third appearance this season, friend of the pod, Mike Bauer of Dynasty Rewind. Everybody, let's go. Hey guys, everybody out there, please remember before we get started to go on over and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. Guys, make sure that you are checking out all of our awesome fantasy content here at Fantasy Frames from all of us here on the channel. And if you have any questions for us tonight, please make sure to run on over, put that in the chat. We would love to tackle all of your rebuild questions. We already see Gator in the chat over there. I see Chris B, the other Chris B in the chat. All right, guys. So we got our favorite Mike Bauer on the show tonight. Mike, friend of the pod. You know, guys, when he is not busy doing all these remodels, flipping his properties, he is hosting the Dynasty Rewind podcast, and you can find that on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And you can also follow him on Twitter at Rewind CEO. What's up, Mike? How's it going?
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? Happy to be back. Stacey, good to see you. Tyler, you as well. Like always, Chris, it's very nice to meet you for the first time. So thank you guys for having me on very much. I always appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And guys, just like Chris has back in his corner over here in his sign, that shiplap has sailed. You know, we might be playing a little drinking game with shiplap tonight. So be careful, watch out. We might say that a lot. So you know, so pop your tops and get ready to go. So I see Jamie in the chat up there. What's up, Jamie? And Chalupa Batman ready to go. Guys, I want to get into some friendly banner. So before we get started, I want to ask you guys just a random question. And since we're doing Fantasy Dynasty Fixer Upper tonight, I want to know, what is your biggest DIY fail? Mike, you get to go first.
Well, I don't want to sound cocky here or anything, but I am pretty handy. Work with my hands every day. I'm a mechanic, in case anyone doesn't know, looking to shift careers if anyone's hiring. So I'm pretty good at fixing things. I will say that. My daughter always says if daddy can't fix it, he takes it to work to fix it. So I don't really have any big DIY fails. I have electrocuted myself several times. So I would say that's probably the biggest one. Thought the breaker was tripped. Hey, guess what? It wasn't. So that's pretty much it. And I'm the type of guy too, if I don't know how to do something, I will learn before I do it, or I'll ask someone to show me. And if that fails, then I'm just going to pay someone to do it. I don't have time. I work too much.
I see Jenna in the chat. What's up, Jenna, down there? Jenna is in the house. All right. Oh, I think she's talking about Tyler there, right?
You might be.
Never.
Oh, my goodness. Chris, tell me about your biggest DIY fail.
Okay, so some years back, my best friend and I, we're sitting on his front porch. We're in rocking chairs because that's what 28-year-olds do. And he was like, hey, you want to help me like epoxy my garage floor? And for some reason, I'm thinking like, yeah, this is a good idea. I think we may have had a couple drinks. So we decided to do this. We go to Lowe's, we come back, we get all the materials, and then like just picture like a movie montage where we're killing it. We're stripping the floor. The music is blaring. Like we're doing everything. Like we feel like we're doing such a great job, you know, putting those flecks down where, you know, like in those floors. I think we're doing a great job. The next day we come back and we look at it like when it's drying, and it kind of looks like an elementary school kid was coloring with their non-dominant hand. So it wasn't the most beautiful thing. And but it is still there. And I texted my buddy the other day and I asked him, I was like, what kind of job do you think we did on that? And he was like, I mean, it's not the worst job, but if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely hire a professional. So I think that tells you.
I think we might have lost. I think he's on a little bit of a lag. Let's see. Chris, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
He's back. Yes. You are back. Oh my goodness. All right. So I'm going to go next only because Tyler, I think you have a really good story that would just, mine would sound very lame after yours. So I'm going to go next. So recently I was I got it in my head that I wanted to do like bookshelves on either side of my fireplace. And so I bought these pre-made ones and I was making like some little adjustments to it and doing some, little flare pieces, to add on to it. And I bought this paint to paint them this really pretty kind of like dark purple color. And I guess I bought the wrong kind of primer and paint because when I went to try to like paint the whole thing, it just repelled from like the bookshelves. Like, and I mean, it took me like 4 coats primer, 4 coats of paint. I mean, something that should have taken like 2 hours took like a whole entire weekend. And I finally get it done. And I go to start putting things on the bookshelf and I'm moving them around and the paint starts like peeling off, just peeled right off. I had to do the whole thing over again. It was a complete mess. And it was horrible. So not super exciting, a little bit lame, but it was just something that recently happened. So that was on my mind. But Tyler, you've got a much better story. So let's hear it.
Stacey, let me ask, did you strip all of the finish off of your bookshelves?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I probably should have sanded them first. And I did not. So that's my bad.
That might happen.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I bought my first house in Kentucky, the aforementioned Kentucky that we were talking about before the show. The society that is way ahead of its time, just very accepting and welcoming of all different types of people. So we redid all of the floors in the house. 1,700 square foot house. I had my father-in-law and my buddy help. We almost finished the house in one day, 17 hours. The next day, I was trying to finish up the final room. And for anyone that's ever put in laminate flooring, it's kind of you fit it into the groove and then you hit it with a rubber mallet or a dead blow hammer, or whatever you want to call it, to get it in and fit it. And I wasn't paying attention because I was in a hurry. And instead of hitting the board, I swung that hammer right into my thumb. I sprayed blood across the floor and into the wall. And to top that off, after I did that, I walked out into the kitchen. I told my wife, who was very overwhelmed at the time, "Honey, I think I need you to go get me a first aid kit." And she was like, "What? You can't get it yourself?" And so I drove to Walmart dripping blood, got the first aid kit for myself, got back. My wife had finally seen the blood on the wall and asked me why I didn't tell her that I did that.
That's the best part about marriage, though. Like, you really need help. Why can't you do it yourself? Fine, I'm going to do it myself. You clean the blood off the wall. It's the same thing with my wife. I could be on my deathbed and she's like, "Oh, that's just allergies. You're fine. Stop." Men are such babies when they get sick.
That's
Thanks
true, though. That is true. You guys are wimps. You guys are wimps.
Whoa, hold on.
There's science behind that, Stacey.
I might be in the only relationship ever that has that flipped on its head. I refuse to admit I'm sick, and my wife is a hypochondriac.
Oh, no.
Sorry, someone's coming in to say goodnight to me. Okay, that's it. You want to say hi?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you're making a mess in here. All right, come here. Give me a kiss. Sorry about that. Yes.
No worries. All right. So, Crispy nearly cut off his thumb on the table last year when he was watching Ohio State, Michigan. DIY fail. Did you cut off your thumb because you were watching Ohio State, Michigan, or did it just happen while that happened to be on TV? I feel like I need some more details, Crispy. More details. Oh, look at our little nugget down there.
You want to say hi? Just
This
a
is
little hi.
Cora.
Yeah, that's Cora.
Hi,
Wave
Cora.
hi to everybody. She's waving. All right, you're shy. Go ahead.
There she goes. There she goes.
All right, go ahead. Your time on camera's done. Get all your certificate out of here. Why does she have so much?
She made her debut. Has she debuted on Dynasty Rewind yet?
No, we typically, good night, sweetie. We typically record when she's already in bed, but we've started pushing her bedtime back a little bit just because she's taking so long to fall asleep.
She's a big girl.
Yeah, she has a hard time falling asleep for my wife. I put her to bed. All I do is I lay with her and then I fall asleep and she falls right asleep. So it's easy.
The magic touch. It's so easy. Dealing with kids, so easy, right?
For me, it is. Yeah, my wife does all the hard stuff. So
It's the lack of anxiety from the dad that lets the kids relax.
yeah, it's like she's gonna go to bed. Hey, if she takes long to fall asleep, she takes long to fall asleep. Whatever, big deal. Not everybody falls asleep right away. It's just sometimes you got to go off their cues. Is all. That's what people don't realize about being a parent. Sometimes you have to let the child guide you and what they want, and stop being so, regimented. Sometimes still you have to brush your teeth. There's no arguing that. That's the big argument right now.
Get around brushing your teeth.
Yes.
100%, because that's gross. So before we get started, guys, we want to send some good vibes on out to our Fantasy and Frame CEO, Jorge, as he is recovering from a non-football related injury that happened right before training camp got started. We had to put him on the IR for a little bit, but don't worry, everybody, he is going to be designated for return, and all signs are pointing to him to be back in time for the regular season. So speedy recovery, Jorge. We miss you and hope that you are feeling better. So, guys, tonight we are going to be doing these rebuilds. Okay, so we've got a few people so graciously sent in their rosters, and we're going to talk about how we can help them rebuild those teams that are maybe not doing so great. What's up, Albert? We see you in the chat there. Guys, if you sent in a team for us, please make sure that you are listening and in the chat, because we might give you a shout out. I might show your roster here. Nate also in the chat. He says, "What's up, Bauer? He's going to see you in a couple weeks." That's right, because it is the Fantasy Football Expo coming on up.
Get your tickets.
That's right. Get those tickets, guys. FantasyFootballExpo.com, right? I think that's
yeah.
right.
I believe they stopped selling them online like a few days or a day or so before the expo.
Okay.
So planning on going, get your tickets now. Ample parking in Canton, Ohio, too, by the way. So,
Be my
I don't
first.
know what else to say about Canton. Like, what do you want me to say? It's there.
There's no one there, so there's ample parking.
I walk down the street in Canton, and Canton's a fairly large. I don't want to say large, but it's like a medium-sized city, I guess we could call it. And I'm walking around. Don't give me that look. It's like a medium-sized city. Okay, it's bigger than where I live. But I walk around, and I'm like, where is, like, what's going on? It's Saturday night. There's nothing. There's nothing. Well, hey, Chris, make sure you stop by the Dynasty Rewind booth and say hi.
Yes, absolutely, guys. So since we're going to be doing a lot of puns on the DIY network, I'm going to see what everybody in the chat comes up with. So give us your best. The cheesier, the better. All right, so team one, and I'm going to do some attempt at some magic here to throw up the roster on our screen. Team number one here. Let's see. All right. You guys will have to forgive me. I did not get this together in time to make a nice little aesthetically pleasing graphic. So that is totally my fault. But guys, so this team is a 1 quarterback, 22-man roster, PPR with the 3 wide receivers start. It has come in 12th overall the last 2 years running. Once you take a look at it, I'm sure you are not surprised. Their draft started last week, and they're in now. I think they're in the 5th round. But so far, this team has taken Bijan, Sam Laporta, and Marvin Mims, and Roschon Johnson. Had multiple picks in the 2nd round. I'll let you guys figure out who owns this team, but they have the first few picks are remaining. There's 10 rounds altogether because free agents are up for grabs as well as rookies. Here is the roster. So I'll read off the roster to you guys. Well, actually, you guys can all read and you'll see me go through every single person on there. But I'm going to ask you guys, what do you guys think? What do you like about the team? What do you hate about the team? What do you think that could be done? How can we get this team into contention? Mike, hit me with your best shot.
First thing you need to do is you need to talk to the league about getting rid of the 10-round draft. I understand the free agents are up for grab too. When you have free agents up for grab in the rookie draft, that just makes it harder to trade, or it gives people no incentive to trade. Why would I trade you anything for this asset when I could just get him in the 8th round because all the good rookies have been taken? So to me, that punishes trading. Looking at this team, I'm really glad it's a 1 quarterback league because it's really all you have. And you have a quarterback that throws a lot of interceptions in Dak Prescott. Sam Howell's an unknown. Your running back, and look, if you're watching right now, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to be honest with you. Your running back room is a mess outside of Bijan Robinson, and he still hasn't played down in the NFL. So we actually don't know what Bijan Robinson is. Is he generational, or is he the next Trent Richardson? time will tell. Looking at your wide receiver room, you have some good wide receiver twos and A.J. Brown and Paris Campbell, who apparently is going to lead the Giants in receptions this year. For you, Paris Campbell. I really do like your tight end room. I love tight ends. I talk about them way too much on the Dynasty Rewind, to the point where when Bob puts the show sheets together, he actually puts on there, Mike cannot talk about tight ends. So borderline communism, but that's where we're at. Here's what you need to do. You need to sell Bijan Robinson. Okay.
Ooh.
And this is why. Sometimes in order to get better, you need to sell off your best asset.
Mhm.
You're not getting better selling Van Jefferson. You're not getting better selling Paris Campbell. What are you going to get in return for those guys? You're going to get devalued draft picks back because your draft is too big. So to get better, you need to sell Bijan Robinson for
Okay.
plus assets like Ramondre Stevenson, Miles Sanders, guys like that. You get a good starting running back. You get plus assets on top of it. And then I would move a guy like A.J. Brown too. He's still in the prime of his career. You're going to get a little older if you sell him for a guy like Christian Kirk. But again, plus assets. What I tell people all the time, go on fantasypros.com, go to the stat leaders for last season and look and see how guys finish the season and then try to project what they're going to do. And it's really easy. The reason I tell people to do that is because, hey, everyone likes to go for the big name. But when you're rebuilding, you're trying to get better, you need to look for value, number one, and upside, number two, and number three, guys that are going to outperform their ADP. That's what you need to do when you rebuild. So in order to get better, you got to make your team worse. You got to get rid of Bijan. And look, you got some dead weight there. J.D. McKissick, he gone. Leonard
Yeah.
Fournette, get him off my roster. Noah Brown might do something for you. Yep. Andy Dalton, just get him out of there. You could find somebody on the waiver wire that's going to give you more than Andy Dalton will. Just get rid of these guys. Although Zach Moss, I say, could be relevant. What's his name? Jonathan Taylor is starting the offseason here on the pup. So, maybe dangle him to the Jonathan Taylor owner. So, but that's what I would do. Sorry, that was a little long-winded.
No, wait. So I wanted to ask you, so what would you have to get in return for Bijan?
Well, Bijan Robinson is going to be your best trade piece. And, you could get some good younger running backs. And like I said, plus assets. You could get Bijan and a couple first because that's what he's going for right now. Right now, I think his ADP is the running back 1 in Dynasty, which is, it's still insane to me. Like, I get it. But at the same point in time, the guy's never carried the ball in the NFL. People like to go a little overboard. But if you do a Ramondre Stevenson and you get a 24 first and a 24 second, it's going to help you rebuild better than just Bijan. Bijan doesn't help this team, unfortunately. You know what Bijan does? Bijan takes you out of contention. You think you're getting better by having a player like that. If you start winning games, just bumps you down the draft more. You want to lose, man. You want to lose. You want to get better draft picks and get rid of anything more than 5 rounds. Unless it's full IDP, you don't need it, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Okay. Chris, what are your thoughts about team number 1 here?
So I agree with what Bauer was saying. Like, sometimes you need to sell off those high-end assets, to accrue more depth. But if you were looking at this team and you decided that you kind of want to play that long game a little bit longer, I mean, there's a way that you could do that as well. I do like that this team, like, it has good bones, if you're deciding to continue the long game. So with Dak, Bijan, and A.J. Brown, those are all solid number ones at their respective positions, that have staying dynasty power. Like, all 3 of them are secure in their contract, and we know that they'll be around and don't foresee anything damaging like their predictability, like moving forward. The other rookie picks, Laporta, in Detroit, Mims and Roshan Johnson. I mean, they can provide like a nice accent color if they pop early in their career, and you're expecting them if they pop. But so Laporta, we all know that it takes tight ends a while to actually ascend. But looking at that roster in Detroit, he doesn't have a lot of competition at that tight end position, so he could do something a little earlier. Mims, you still have Judy, Patrick, and Sutton there, and then Roshan with Herbert and Foreman there. We're still not exactly sure exactly what they could be, so they could do something there. The tight end room, like, it's nice and cozy. You can have steady production between the 3 of them. Well, all 4 of them actually. Can stream as you need, which is always good. Some of the things that I'm not too keen on is the lack of reliable depth at wide receiver and running back. That hurts the curb appeal of this team a little bit. But there's optimism with short-term rentals. If you look at Connor and Piron, just for this season, Connor really doesn't have a lot of people challenging him for touches in that backfield. But again, Arizona is in rebuild mode, and we don't know what it's going to look for him projecting further in the future, in a dynasty space. And Piron, he was a little more shiny before the word came back that Javonte Williams avoided the pup. But still, you can have some type of optimism because Sean Payton has shown that he can use 2 running backs in his system. You look at Juju and Sky Moore. I mean, they could possibly become sustainable starters. Juju in New England now, like Bill O'Brien is going to make that offense look better than it's been the whole time that Mac has been there. So he could, project to be like a solid starter. And then Sky Moore, I think that this is the year that we need to judge Sky Moore really. As a rookie with Andy Reid, wide receivers don't generally have a chance to flourish. But so we'll see what he does this year. I mean, all in all, like I look at this team and I think it could be on the right path. It's kind of in that up and coming neighborhood. It just needs to fill out those skill positions for sustainability. And like probably the fastest avenue to do that is kind of how Bauer said earlier, where you're trading off those top tier assets, to get more depth and young upcoming talent as well. So that's where I stand looking at this team.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I put a trade together on DLF's trade analyzer, and Bijan Robinson, his current value in this format, which is one quarterback league, is 927.1. For that, you could get Najee Harris and 2 first-round draft picks next year, and you're still undervalued at 904. So you could get Najee Harris, Travion Henderson. If you're tanking, you get like Marvin Harrison Jr. or something like that. So this is how you diversify your dynasty portfolio to get better. When people say things get worse before they get better, that's how you do it. Najee Harris, he's only 25. He's going to get a full workload there in Pittsburgh. Jaylen Warren is not competition for Najee Harris, okay? It's not going to be a thing. It's just not. I'd make that trade in a heartbeat, personally.
Not a Jaylen Warren believer.
No, I like Jaylen Warren. I do, but just in terms of who's the better running back, it's Najee Harris.
Yeah. Tyler, let's hear it. What do you think?
All right. So I did realize that we have it up on the screen, but we never read off the roster for the listeners that aren't on YouTube.
Yes.
So
that's this mistake over here.
So the quarterbacks on this roster are Dak Prescott, Sam Howell, and Andy Dalton, with a running back group led by Bijan Robinson. And then you have James Conner, Damian Harris, Zach Moss, Roshan Johnson, J.D. McKissick, Leonard Fournette, and Samaje Perine. Wide receivers led by A.J. Brown. You got Juju Smith-Schuster, Noah Brown, Josh Reynolds, Paris Campbell, Sky Moore, Marvin Mims, and Van Jefferson. And the tight end group is Greg Dulcich, Sam Laporta, Dawson Knox, and Gerald Everett. All of that said, Chris said, sure, it has good bones. But if I'm choosing to love it or leave it, then I will be going house hunting in my hometown looking for my dream home.
Oh, no. Well, I will just tell you guys in complete honesty here. These are my little band of misfits on my team. I know you're not so shocked with the Marvin Mims and Sam Laporta picks. At all. But I think, Tyler, you wanted to know more about the draft picks, right?
I did. I need that information to make a full judgment on this.
So clearly we had the number 1, right? So we ended up with 2 number 2s that we got last year. And that is when we took Laporta and then Mims, and then ended up with 3 third rounds, ours and then 2 others. And then every other round is just the 1 draft pick.
And what about 2024?
So we don't have any 2024s yet. We've been trying to make a few more trades, but nothing.
Do you have your own?
Yeah, well, I have my own. Yeah.
Okay. Whew.
Yeah. And here's, with the way that this is being managed, I'm hoping that number 1 is Marvin Harrison Jr. at this point.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But you got to be looking to sell more. The picks in 1 QB are a little devalued. So the way I see it, second round picks are less valuable in 1 QB than super flex. So players like James Conner, Samaje Perine, those guys can be worth seconds. Damian Harris, if he takes over that Devin Singletary role, and frankly, he's probably better than Devin Singletary. He might show out a little bit this year and become worth a second. And I do agree with Mike. You have to sell Bijan.
Okay.
Frankly, I think you have to sell AJ Brown too, because you just need assets. This team
I
is
have an AJ
short
Brown
assets.
trade for you, by the way.
Ooh, I cannot wait to hear this one. The one thing I will say is, Mike, I think you called out Christian Kirk. I love that as a undervalued asset. So undervalued assets are ways to go, as well as unproven assets.
You can actually do better than Christian Kirk. Going back to the trade analyzer, what if I told you this is fair value, AJ Brown and a 2024 third for Jalen Waddle and a 2024 second?
What?
Yeah, that's based on value straight up. AJ Brown is 875.1, Jalen Waddle's 820.3. So you're getting a guy who's 2 years younger. You know, he's still going to be around for a while. He's matched up with Tua. Hopefully Tua can stay healthy and you upgrade your draft pick too. Yeah, or you could even look at a guy like, let's see what T Higgins value is. See, one thing that I'm trying to tell people too, yeah, T Higgins would be a good quote unquote tier down from AJ Brown. Like we just put him in here, T Higgins, if I could spell his last name right. So the value there, you would still get plus assets moving on from AJ Brown. You could get you could go AJ Brown for T Higgins and a 24 second and probably get like a third or fourth on top of that too. Don't be afraid of drafting the wide receiver twos on a team as well, like Devonta Smith, T Higgins, Jalen Waddle's technically the wide receiver two. There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, John Mechie has been cleared to go for training camp. Go get John Mechie now while you can.
That's very exciting news for him. Very, very happy for John Mechie.
Excited too. I'm a big John Mechie guy.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, see, the benefit of putting together a show sheet is that you can just throw your own teams in there and ask for some advice. So we see Jorge is in the chat. He says he might have a bum knee, but he's never too bummed to watch his peeps. That's right, Jorge. We are glad to have you in the chat. All right, guys. So I am going to take away this team and I'm going to scroll on down because we have got another team that I want to show you guys. So this team was sent to us on the Twitterverse. This was sent from Steve Farmer, and he is at Falcon Farms. So, Steve, if you're out there, if you're listening, thank you for replying on our tweet asking for rebuilding rosters. Let's see if I did this right. Yeah, I did. Ooh, can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys all read who's there? Am I just old and I can't see it?
I can see it.
You guys can see it. Okay. All right. I was going to try to blow it up a little bit, but if you can see it, then then I think we are all right. So I will not forget about our listeners who are just listening and not watching right now. So this team is a 12-team quarterback league. He has also he's got the 3 first-round picks in 2024. So he's been trying to trade some draft capital for a wide receiver because he's a little bit weak there. But so far, no luck. So Steve's team is Trevor Lawrence, J.K. Dobbins, Bijan, Marquise Brown, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Pitts, Rashad Penny, and Jahmyr Gibbs is who he has got, who he screenshotted us. I am going to jump on back here. So, Chris, tell me about Steve's team here. What do you think he can do to make it a little bit better? Oh, I think you're on mute, buddy.
I'm just struggling today, aren't I? I apologize. Looking at the Steve team, I do like his quarterback and his running back options. I think that Lawrence is actually going to have a really good season. I think he's going to tear up based on where he finished last year. And I think that he's something to look forward to this season. Like you look at the running backs. So he's got Bijan, that generational talent, and J.K. Dobbins, who is a year farther removed from that ACL injury. So I think that they could provide some steady, production for him. Rashad Penny and Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back rooms look pretty good. But when you look at the wide receivers, it's pretty suspect. It's kind of like when you are doing some renovations and you want to open up a wall and you open up that wall and then you realize that there's a ton of mold running crazy and you're not up to code and it just becomes a bigger production than what it needs to be. the wide receivers are kind of scary. Like Marquise Brown, he's out in Arizona, and he doesn't know who his starting quarterback is going to be week 1. Don't know if Kyler is going to come back during the season, this season at all. Colt McCoy, he's banged up a little bit. You got Clayton Tune like in waiting. Kadarius Toney, he's already hurt. So want to do some things to kind of help out that wide receiver room. Like the 3 first, they're always good, especially in the 1 quarterback league. You know, having those first rounds is going to help you out because it's not a super flex, so it's not the quarterbacks aren't sending value down the board where you can grab a little bit later. So when you have those first, you can actually pounce on that talent that's at the top of the board. So that could help you out there. Or you could actually, try to package one of those picks with some depth that you have on the team to try to get like a Drake London type or Treylon Burks, or Christian Watson type. Kind of the ones who are kind of going a little below the radar right now with all the hype and the rookies and everything coming in. So those sophomores, you really can strike it rich with them this time of year if you play your cards right. But I think should be the prime directive number 1, to try to figure out a way to shore up that wide receiver room a little bit. And as with the other team before, like trading Bijan might be a good way to do that. Like Bauer showed you, like some of the like crazy return that you can get if you move a player like that. So yeah, shoring up that wide receiver room is a must.
Yeah, I want to know, Steve, how on earth did you happen to get Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs? Like, I need to know what kind of league you were playing in here. I have questions because that was quite the little coup that you did there. But Mike, what do you think? What should Steve be doing here? How can he help his team?
Steve, you're in luck. I am a great bargain shopper. I'm going to give you 3 guys right here that finished pretty late last season that I think could have a good upswing this year that you don't have to pay a lot for. Last year's wide receiver is 71, Romeo Doubs. He's been getting a lot of praise in training camp with the new quarterback now, and Jordan Love. Wide receiver 78, Mecole Hardman, now with Romeo Doubs' old quarterback in New York. And wide receiver 121 last year. Do you think Sky Moore will finish that low again?
Absolutely
I don't
not.
think so.
I love Sky Moore, though, so I'm probably the wrong one to ask.
I'm not a big Sky Moore fan, but I like fantasy points, and I think he's going to get a bunch of them this year. And also looking at some startup ADP, 219th off the board. He's wide receiver 86 right now in a startup. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Gallup. I'm pretty sure he could outperform that ADP. So I understand that you want to get some wide receiver help. You need it. Kadarius Toney is already freaking hurt. Like Chris was saying, Marquise Brown has some questions there at quarterback. Honestly, see if Greg Dortch is on waivers, because I think Greg Dortch can outperform Marquise Brown this year. The guy's practically free. If you put a $0 fab bid on him or a $1 fab bid, you might get him. Other guys I'm looking at, Van Jefferson, Isaiah Hodgins, guys like that. John Mechie, I talked about him before. That's how you could do it. If not, he said he has 3 first-round picks next year, right?
Yeah, 3 first-round picks.
Get the 101. Get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes.
Be happy about it. That's what you got to do. You got to get that 101. By the way, if you're a Marvin Mims fan, he just got hurt today. Buy low on the injury discount, even though he's only going to miss a week or so. That's what I would do.
I did see that, and my heart I just had to clutch my pearls.
He's going to be fine. And please, when Kadarius Toney gets back, get him off your roster. I know everyone's saying he's going to have a career year. A career year for him could be 6 games and 400 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Kadarius Toney just can't stay out of the hot tub.
No.
So speaking of the 3 first-round picks, so this was kind of something that I wanted to ask. So, like, would you feel okay with them with those 3 picks? I guess just like writing it out if you couldn't, turn them into anything else and just waiting for Marvin Mims next year to save your team?
Here's the thing. I don't really think he's going to be waiting it out so much. Like if he goes after some of these value picks, that I think they're going to outperform their ADP. Curtis Samuel's another guy that could do that as well. And don't forget, you could flex tight ends too. So see if there's a guy out there like Logan Thomas, Gerald Everett. These guys are going to put up points. You're in a situation right now where some of these starting tight ends might put up more points on a weekly basis than Marquise Brown, then Kadarius Toney. So put them in your flex spot. Rashad Penny, to me, look, I'm an Eagles fan. He got the first carries in camp today. Sleeper did a thing on it. It's like, all right, Sleeper, calm down. I'm at work. But Rashad Penny, I think he's going to be better for best ball than starting him consistently on a week out basis. I'm off of Eagles running backs. No Eagles running backs. None. Love them for the NFL. But yeah, I mean, I think you could still be competitive if you make a few moves, look for some value, and you're going to be just fine. You could at least sneak into the playoffs. Once you're there, anything can happen.
There you go.
I have to push back a little bit on the whole Greg Dortch is going to outperform Marquise Brown take.
So it's possible.
The Human Torch.
No.
Is Marquise Brown, is he just not getting any respect? He's been a good, productive wide receiver for several years in the
No
NFL.
respect. No, I get it, but I don't know what the Arizona Cardinals are going to be. I really don't. It's a huge question mark. And look, I've seen Jonathan Gannon coach a defense. I'm worried about him coaching an entire team. To be perfectly honest with you, I am not like I'm so out on Arizona. Maybe I'm salty from them blowing a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl last year. We could talk about that sometime, but I got a lot of questions, and now people are saying that the Cardinals could have the first and second pick in the draft next year, which would be they'd go after like Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. And then it's like, well, where does that leave Marquise Brown? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of talking myself out of it. So when you're in a situation like that, who's the guy I can get cheapest? That's Greg Dortch. Maybe move on from Hollywood Brown.
Tyler, you have anything that you love, anything that you don't love so much about this team?
I mean, I like his collection of running backs. I love that Trevor Lawrence is his quarterback. I still love Kyle Pitts. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to act like I know what the hive mind is thinking on Kyle Pitts because it changes every single day. Rashad Penny could potentially be a sell candidate this year. If he can stay on the field, he is going to be good. Rashad Penny is an extremely talented running back that has had major injury problems. The Eagles don't pass the ball to the running back. That's what DeAndre Swift does. Rashad Penny runs the ball. That is going to eliminate a lot of the need and a lot of the usage that they gave to Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell last year. So if Penny can stay healthy, if he can have a few big games, I think that is a very fast sell for me. I have nothing to say about Kadarius Toney. I'm out.
I did a whole pod segment on Eagles throwing to the running backs and how you need to move on from DeAndre Swift now. They actually, the longer Nick Sirianni is there, the less that they pass to the running backs. It's just getting less and less and less every year. And I'm out. And hey, let's look at some value. You want to bolster your roster, make it better. Here's a trade for you, Kyle Pitts. Would you guys make this trade? Kyle Pitts for Christian Kirk and Dallas Goedert.
Ooh.
Here's your wide receiver help. You're still getting a extremely talented tight end. Or if you don't like Christian Kirk, you can pay up just a tiny little bit more and do Dallas Goedert and Amari Cooper. These are both guys that I think could finish as wide receiver ones this year that people are just kind of out on right now. So not the sexiest trade. Hate to lose out on Kyle Pitts, but I think we could say, who would you trust as a quarterback more for fantasy throwing to targets? Desmond Ridder or Jalen Hurts? Right now it's Jalen Hurts.
Yes, and the Eagles know where their bread is buttered on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep.
They have made a very distinct effort to not bring any more major offensive weapons in because they know where these targets are going. They're going to absolutely flood A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert with targets. They aren't going to throw to the running back. They didn't want to bring it. They're happy with Quez Watkins and people like that. They are going to absolutely target the crap out of them.
There's rumblings about that one, by the way.
About what one?
About Quez
Mr.
Watkins. His future is uncertain. Also, here's another one. Pay up a little bit for this one. Kyle Pitts, a 24-second and 24-third for TJ Hawkinson and Christian Kirk. So
I'm in for that one.
Give me TJ Hawkinson, man. They're gonna be slinging the ball out there a lot. So
yes.
So we got a question from Jamie. So while I'm going to let you guys tackle this one while I get our next team ready to go. So Jamie wants to know, he has a startup draft question. He's got Mims, Reed, or Mechie. Wants to know, would you draft McBride over those wide receivers in a 0.75 tight end premium? Mike, what do you think?
I feel like, okay, so Mims, Reed, or Mechie. I mean, I'm always going to go Marvin Mims, but Reed, I don't mind as well. Mechie, you could probably wait on a little bit. I'm assuming that you want to choose from these 4 players at this draft spot. You could probably wait on Trey McBride too, although it's criminal. Zach Ertz was put on the pup today. I think Trey McBride's going to have a fantastic season, but if there's a run going on right now, McBride might be the safer pick. You could probably wait on these wide receivers. Also, if Irv Smith Jr. has not been taken, get yourself a piece of that Cincinnati Bengals offense. He's the starter there now. So I feel like people are kind of forgetting about Irv Smith Jr. Grab him late too. So if you go with McBride and Irv Smith, be pretty decent.
Joe Burrow gets tight ends paid.
It's true.
Yeah.
CJ Uzama, Hayden Hurst.
Hey, look, Hayden Hurst is a good value pick too. I think good security blanket for Bryce Young. Their wide receiver room is really questionable out there. I think questionable is a good term to use for the wide receiver room, right? What Adam Thielen. I heard people like, oh, Terrace Marshall season. I'm like, you can just go with that. I don't even know who their other wide receiver is. Miles Sanders is a really good buy this year for me as well.
DJ Chark, man.
Oh yeah, DJ Chark, great.
Mingo.
So yeah, get Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst late.
Mingo, yeah.
Oh, Steve Smith said that Mingo is that guy. He also was the only one that was talking up Cooper Kupp, saying he was the best wide receiver in that draft class also. So I pay attention to Smitty when he speaks.
Steve knows what he's talking about. Yeah. All right, guys.
I have one question before we move on. Tyler, is that a Jerome Ford jersey back there?
It is.
Follow-up question, why?
So the question that just came in from Jamie Parag, he bought me the jersey because I stand for Jerome Ford like 3 months ago, and I said the Browns did not bring in any competition for Nick Chubb. They believe in Jerome Ford. They're going to give him that backup role, and none of that has changed. So Jamie, who's also a Browns fan, said, I'm buying you a Jerome Ford jersey, and it showed up at my doorstep 2 weeks ago.
Oh, so I didn't know you were a Browns. You don't like Demetric Felton, John Kelly Jr., Nate McCrary, Hassan Hall? You don't think these guys are competition?
I shamefully, I love John Kelly Jr. I've always loved him. I remember someone called him a rolling ball of butcher knives coming out of Tennessee, and I've loved him ever since.
Interesting.
Okay, that's quite the compliment. What is a rolling ball?
Rolling ball of butcher knives.
Okay,
he has been waived a lot.
I know. That's why I don't like telling a lot of people about that one.
Yeah, but sign me up for Jerome Ford. I was really high on him when he came out. He was actually one of my players to scout in that draft class. So yeah, I like Jerome Ford a lot.
I mean, people forget he was a highly recruited player. He went on a full ride to Alabama. He just needed playing time.
It's hard to get on the field at Bama. It happens. Doesn't mean you're bad. It's just that's what happens at Alabama. Same thing with Georgia. That's why these guys transferred. Same thing with Jameson Williams going from Ohio State to Alabama. Sometimes you just need a chance and you might not get it there. It happens. It doesn't mean you're a bad player. It's just the situation. Same thing at workplaces too. That's why people move on, right? Like trying to grow your personal portfolio. So you have to move on.
Exactly. So guys, we are coming in at the top of the hour here, and we have got the fourth and frames guys ready to go after us. I'm going to skip our third team because it's pretty much the same setup as our first team was. But I want to move on to one that was sent to us by our very own Chris Battistiel. He is in the chat. We're going to share his screen here. Well, that's actually my screen. I'm going to try to zoom in just a tiny bit here for you guys so we can see everybody there. This is an orphan team that he adopted last year. And he's got Stafford, Stevenson, James Conner, George Pickens, Brandon Cooks are his receivers. At tight end, he's got Evan Ingram. He's got 4 flex spots, and those are Miles Sanders, Devin Singletary, Elijah Moore, and Alan Lazard. He's got quite the bench here. He's got famous Jameis on the bench, Davis Mills also, Hassan Haskins. He might be in jail. Who knows? Jerome Ford, there he is. And Tyquan Thornton, Ashton Dulin, LaVisca. Guys, we forgot about LaVisca when we were talking about Carolina receivers.
No, we didn't.
No,
How
we
dare
didn't.
No.
We know he's there. Don't worry.
Tyler, don't you have a LaVisca signed helmet?
I
Yeah, you do. From the fishbowl. From the fishbowl. We
Right
got a
there,
LaVisca
baby.
helmet.
Are you interested in selling that, Tyler? I know somebody that would love it.
I mean, sure.
We'll make you a deal for a first-round draft pick. Give me Bijan for the helmet.
If it's for Jenna, she can have it for free.
No, it's for my co-host Nate. He loves LaVisca Chenault.
He's also got Sterling Shepard, Isaiah McKenzie, and Mecole Hardman. This is his team. This is a pretty deep bench here. And 12-team league. I asked Chris about that because I saw all these bench spots and I thought, oh my gosh, how many people are in your league? So what can Chris do? How can he bring this orphan into some contention here? Mike, what do you think? What do you think about these guys?
It's not a terrible team, to be honest with you. There's some decent starting pieces here, but I want a quarterback upgrade. And being a one quarterback league, it shouldn't be too bad. I would just go ahead and drop Jameis Winston and Davis Mills. You just get them off my roster right now. Pick whatever 49ers quarterback is on the waiver wire. They'll probably play at some point within the first 3 or 4 weeks. You just go ahead and put them right in there. Or if Baker Mayfield's out there, he's a decent backup too. Everything after Ramondre is pretty suspect aside from Miles Sanders. You got Miles, you got Ramondre. I might want to try to move Ramondre to kind of diversify a little bit. I'm hanging on to Miles Sanders. Nobody wants to buy Miles Sanders for whatever reason. I tried to sell him 2 years ago for 2 second-round picks. Nobody wanted him. Fine, I almost won the championship. Austin Eckler decided to have a clunker of a day. Anyway, aside from that, Evan Ingram, I'm pretty okay with there. If you could upgrade there, I would definitely do it. I have concerns about him and his health and his longevity. You might want to start just little things like Elijah Moore. See if you get some capital for him. Your bench, there's a reason these guys are on the bench. The only bench player I really like is Jerome Ford.
Mm-hmm.
You can get rid of Tyquan Thornton, Ashton Doolin. You can get rid of LaVisca, Sterling Shepard, Isaiah McKenzie. I'd probably keep Mecole Hardman too. You got to just get younger at certain places. Quarterback, your running back too there, and James Conner. I would like to see a tight end upgrade, but some decent young pieces here. And I think Devin Singletary is going to have a decent season too, for what it's worth.
What do you think about? Here's a question that I just had when I saw Alan Lazard on there. Like, what kind of role do you think he's going to have in that offense this year?
I don't know. I
don't know what to do with him. Right?
He just doesn't. Like everyone's saying, like he played with Aaron Rodgers, I think, and so everyone's like, "Oh, it's going to be a thing," and I'm like, "Okay, I guess just give me Garrett Wilson and then Mecole Hardman cheap, and whatever tight end decides to show up there." I mean, is Aaron Rodgers going to make the Jets relevant, or are the Jets just going to keep on jetting? That's what I want to know. Like, I don't know. I want Garrett Wilson. I want Garrett Wilson. That's it.
No one else. Just give me Garrett Wilson, please. Yeah,
I meant wide receiver wise. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, Breece Hall for sure.
Tyler, how do you feel about Chris's team? And Chris is probably getting ready for the show, so too bad he is not in the chat. But I'm sure he'll check this out later.
Yes, I like it, but it can be a competitive team for sure with Ramondre and Connor and Brandon Cooks and Miles Sanders. It can be a competitive team. This team reminds me of I don't play fantasy football to come in fifth. Like that's not what I set out to do at the beginning of the year. This team screams fifth place to me. So I'm going to take everything I can and I'm going to sell it. James Conner, expiring asset, sell it. Brandon Cooks, expiring asset that's going to produce, sell it. Miles Sanders, expiring asset that's going to produce, sell it. Devin Singletary, expiring asset that's going to produce a little bit, sell it. Maybe even Evan Ingram. Ingram might be overhyped. I mean, you have to have a tight end to play. He's going to have some spike weeks for sure, but he was not the most consistent player. And I do want to remind people that Ramondre Stevenson, although he's only played 2 years, he's already 25. He's already bordering on that running back age curve. Competitive team, good players. I think he needs to go ahead and sell the farm and get some picks and get some undervalued younger players that many of whom we've already discussed, and Mike's named several.
If you could go from Evan Ingram to Greg Dulcich somehow, I would be fine with that. Give me a tight end in the Sean Payton offense. I statted him out. Kate Otten was the best rookie tight end last year in terms of receptions. Had Greg Dulcich played as many games and done what he did in every game as Kate Otten did, he would have been tight end 14 last year, right between Gerald Everett and Dawson Knox. So, and that's in a bad offense with a slumping Russell Wilson. Add Sean Payton to the mix, you could have a tight end 1, low end, but I think he's going to give you more consistency than a player like Evan Ingram.
I did not know that about Kate Otten. That is a very interesting little tidbit there.
I'm a wealth of knowledge. You're welcome, Stacey.
Tyler, do you think expiring asset is what Leonardo DiCaprio calls his girlfriends when they hit 26?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, 20. Yeah, 25.
Yeah,
he has the running back age curve of girlfriends.
Chris, last but not least, tell us what you think about your namesake's team here.
First of all, like, he's doing great things because he's Chris B also, so that's a beautiful thing. But like, this team, it's kind of like that house that's in the really nice neighborhood, but it's just outside the zoning of, like, that great school district and commerce. Like, so the dynasty landscape for the quarterbacks, I mean, it's not very optimistic. Sam Howell, like, he has the shiniest like outcome like right now, but what's that going to look like with Ron Rivera? He may be on the hot seat. Who knows what's going to happen there? The running backs, they have that rustic charm for today, but Connor and Singletary, like, they could be left behind if you're projecting for the future in like the dynasty window, not that kind of assets that you want to hold on to that team. The wide receivers, they seem to be the most balanced, like group of the team, like a mix of young and aging vets that have seen like new locations outside of George Pickens. All those guys are in new places, so they're trying to get back there. But, Pickens, like, he has Pickett in Canada. So you really don't know what's going to happen there. You would expect that Kenny Pickett in his second year will like take a step forward, but is his OC going to limit him? I do like how this team can play spoiler. Like, I think he can get in, it can shake some things up, but I don't think this team is actually going to contend. And kind of like with Bauer and Tyler were saying earlier, like, you kind of want to like be in contention. Like, being in the middle is the worst place to be in dynasty. So you need to make something to try to be better, where you can have that sustained level of excellence. And that's by packaging up some players with some of the trades that were mentioned earlier, or, just those players to get. But like right now, like, it is, a solid team, like good enough where I think it could make the playoffs. I don't know how deep in the playoffs it'll go though.
Well, Crispy, I hope that was helpful to you and helpful to everybody out there. Before we go, Mike, I want to ask you a real quick question just for you. If you could give one piece of advice to some of our newbies out there dipping their toes into the fantasy stream, dynasty stream rather, what would it be?
Yeah, you're setting your lineup. Don't let anyone pressure you in taking any trades you don't want to take, and you do not have to set a lineup until September. So don't be pressured to do anything right now.
There you go. Don't bow to peer pressure.
Right.
Exactly. I just want to say a huge thank you, Mike, for coming to hang out with us tonight and spending your evening with us. Guys, make sure you are following him if you are not already. He is at Rewind CEO. You can also find him at Dynasty Rewind. Make sure you're checking out his podcast. Guys, Mike, what are you working on at the moment?
Nothing right now. Most of our stuff is done like towards the end of the regular season and, in the off season. So we're already starting to do some planning. That's pretty much it just for next year's rookie draft guide. It's going to be even bigger than the 74 pages that it was now. So definitely check it out. And if you want to buy a copy of it, it's still available. It's always going to be available. Can't talk. payhip.com/Dynasty Rewind. You could also get your roster viewed too. We just discounted the price. Check it out if you want.
Go. Awesome. All right, guys. So make sure you're following all of us over on Twitter. You can find Chris over at Dynasty Deviant. You can follow Tyler at FF Tyler Heil. And I am at Stacey_Perez83. Make sure you are hitting the subscribe on the Dynasty 365 show for Fantasy in Frames. Guys, we are going to be back next week, and we'll see you then. Everybody have a great night.